want to do our Decode That Claim corner?
Yeah, so this is a relatively new segment. A lot of times, Victoria and I, we have to stay on top of what's in the news, what's in the industry, and once in a while, we'll just come across a claim that make us go, "Erp." So today's ERP claim is from a company called...
We'll blind the company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, it's cool. So today's claim I found is actually on a towel. And basically this towel that launched, I'm gonna read Gloria some of the claims that came with it. First things first. Breaks down acne causing bacteria. With moisture wicking and hydrophilic fibers, our towel helps regulate body temperature and increase the flow of oxygen and moisture back into your pores,
Wait.
leaving your skin feeling hydrated, rejuvenated, and supported.
Who uses towels that have hydrophobic fiber? Like, oh yes, who would have thought? I was using a tarp before.
Yeah, so hydrophilic fiber. So
but all towels absorb water.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting claim. Also, I'm very concerned about the breaks down acne causing bacteria. I don't know how that was drawn from the description I just read.
Cutie bacteria, you thought cell acid was your enemy? Meet towel.
All right, here's this. Clean towel, cleaner skin. Which I guess is literally true.
Yes. Yes, your towel should be clean.
Hypoallergenic, antibacterial, moisture wicking, more than buzzwords. It means our towel not only removes bacteria from your skin, it breaks it down and stops it from multiplying on your skin and in the towel.
Sorry.
So whilst your skin is staying healthy and clean, so will your towel.
Again, there's some matching fiber going on there.
Exactly. And then finally, rejuvenates and hydrates skin. With the ability to regulate temperature and increase the flow of oxygen back into your skin, our towel helps rejuvenate and hydrate, letting your skin breathe, not suffocate, whilst you're drying off. Sorry. I didn't know.
Pretty good.
I didn't know towels suffocated my skin.
I just picture this towel going like, here, have some oxygen.
Swipe.
That's actually pretty good.
I didn't know. I didn't think.
Wait, so is it like a cotton towel?
I actually think it is. Actually, I didn't quite look at it, but it's a blend of cotton and some other material. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So just so you know, anti-aging towels may be the next thing.
I just picture a bunch of secret agents on this towel with fan in one hand, like BB gun in the other hand, like cutie bacteria, pew 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 pew, oxygen.
But don't suffocate.
You must breathe quick.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so I know this.
Would you buy this towel?
How much is it?
So I think the face towel is like $50.
Oh no.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll put that on your radar. Definitely go check out some anti-aging towels. If you've tried them and believe it does not deserve the ridicule that we have given it, please let us know because we are so curious. But otherwise,
sorry, not sorry that we made fun of it. Wait, actually, you know what? I have to hand to them. That's actually very creative.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, it's going to burst all your bad bacteria, keep the good ones, and hydrate your skin. You know, sing you sweet songs, and then suck your... Sorry.
12 seconds later.
The beer is kicking in, guys. Also,
2 hours later.
Sorry.
I think I was one step away from making that.
You're absolutely right.
Eventually.
I'm just gonna say, I think there is, if anti-aging, I think there's a toilet seat out there that can be anti-aging too.
I would buy that toilet seat cover. Actually, antibacterial claims on a seat cover is way more clutch than this.
Yeah.
You got charcoal problems, we got you, boo.
No, think about it. Like, you got those, like, laser devices, those, like, microcurrent devices. Microcurrent your toilet seat for your stretch marks and cellulite.
Yo, okay, you know what? I don't care how ridiculous that claim is. I would try it. Like, well, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Make the most of your toilet time. Okay. Anyways, that's Decode That Claim.
we
If
digress.
you've got one that you would like to give a shout out to, please send them our way. But anyways, we're going to get into part 2, and this is all about acne scarring.
All right. We're done with the jokes. Back to serious though.
Cool. All right, we got this. So, first things first, when we were looking into this, probably one of the most interesting things that we learned was that there is a disorder for picking at your lesions, and it's called excoriation. So just so you know, I do it too, and I didn't realize it's an actual disorder.
I feel like it's like shaming people. I feel like every picker knows that you're not supposed to pick, but you can't help it, right?
But also, estheticians do it to you.
Well, yeah. You know, I'm saying so. My fiance is a really bad picker, and it's just habit forming. He doesn't care, right? Yeah. And I've seen some excavation job that it looks like he puts his back into it.
Oh my God.
That is not how your esthetician does it.
Yeah. Angela, our esthetician friend, is just gonna keel over hearing that. But anyways, that was a fun fact, or not so fun fact. All right. I think the reason why we wanted to focus on acne scarring is because acne scarring and just general post-acne care is an afterthought. Oftentimes is an afterthought.
I think, it's actually a really big problem.
It is.
But a lot of times, like, acne care is so focused on treatment of active acne, that acne scar, people who have acne scars end up feeling really lost on what to do for it. So that's why we want to dedicate a segment to it.
Yeah, and and I think you hit it right on the nail. Usually the goal is to just treat the acne, reduce the breakouts, minimize those lesions. And it's never really to think about what comes next, and that's to prevent scarring. And to make it even more challenging, there's a great review paper kind of talking about some of the difficulties with it. A lot of times there's just very limited time during, your appointment with the doctor to kind of talk about that and just put attention on that during the consultation. There's also very poor compliance to treatment. It's totally true because a lot of the scarring topicals, if you ever look out, what's that famous one? Is it Mederma?
I think so.
Yeah, so usually those you have to use twice a day. You have to be very diligent about it. You won't see results for a very long time, and that's just the nature of scarring. And then also, it's just honestly pretty difficult to talk about. Same thing as like acne, it feels very taboo. It just plays to your insecurities, and knowing that it's a scar, you just think it's permanent and there's nothing you can do about it. So just all in all, just kind of this like forgotten and just very discouraging topic all around. But I want to give you guys hope. There's a lot of focus on this now, also because the beauty industry is booming. The research is starting to expand in this area. So we're just going to talk about like some of the stuff we know and are trying to understand about it. And then product wise, like what are the different angles you can help tackle? And then what other kind of solutions you can seek out outside of topicals. So first things first, probably one of the most prevalent scars is the atrophic scar, which is the box scars. And this is the type of scar that usually you would see a depression in the skin, the topography. And it's usually kind of like a, almost like a little bit of like a circle boxcar kind of shape. And then there's different degrees of severity with it just based on the deepness of the scar. So they're really looking at that in terms of how to treat it, and also understand like how it's being, how these are triggered and formed. And the major thing is inflammation.
Yeah, and again, this kind of goes back to our point in meat part 1 that inflammation is like a little bit underrated.
Yeah.
And what doesn't help is I think acne patients are so used to and wants to pummel your acne with as much aggressive actives as possible to solve that issue, that a lot of times you forget it's hard to balance that effectiveness without inflaming your skin and causing problems down the road. So this is where anti-inflammatory ingredients come in. Inflammation can definitely lead to side effects down the road. On top of these like atrophic scars, it can also lead to pigmentation, hyperinflammatory pigmentation. So
a whole host of problems.
Yeah, a whole host of problems. So definitely, before these scars form, like try to incorporate as much anti-inflammatory ingredients as possible. Take a cooling mask once in a while. Just help prevent it from getting severe.
Yeah,
it's very important.
Yeah, and I think from what they're looking at, they're even looking at the duration of inflammation in your acne. They've seen that is a possible factor in causing these scars. Another thing is this overproliferation of C. acnes. This lack of balance. They think that is like a main trigger, which also pushes us towards the skin microbiome and better understanding how to ensure that diversity stays true. So this is, and I think this is where it gets like really tricky in terms of treatment, because, initially when you start having breakouts, they want to go, okay, like right out of the gate, we got to start eliminating these breakouts, reduce the number of lesions, the concentration in the area. But once you get to a certain point, you don't want to start triggering all that inflammatory response, because that can open up another door to a whole host of other issues. And so that's why it's like this, again, if you think about how like we talk about like cleansers with like finding the balance, a sweet spot of power and gentleness, is kind of that same strategy. You want it to be potent, but you also don't want to go overboard. And that's why it's so difficult to solve, because everybody's, tolerance is different. And then the other thing that they've also noted is that at the end of the day, what's really going to help is getting your skin, I thought this was fascinating, getting your skin to a point where it can tolerate sustained treatment of your acne topicals. So once your skin can find that balance and is happy with it, that is your best strategy to minimizing the potential of scars, because at that point your skin's not reacting all the time to what you're putting on it.
Actually, that's like a really good piece of advice for anyone trying aggressive actives like retinol and anything else. It kind of goes with what we're saying, of just kind of acclimating your skin, build your skin up to a certain point, and the whole time just remember the goal is never to irritate. Yeah,
exactly. So I really like that. I thought that was really cool. I think that it kind of just enforces what we talk about all the time of like diligence, patience, sticking with what makes your skin, what your skin can tolerate, and not trying to just like punch it into gear all the time, And I think that's hard, especially when you're dealing with breakouts and you just like, like it's summer, everyone wants to be out right now, and it's like the last thing you want to think about. So, all in all, from what we've learned, the takeaway here is like, just not to get discouraged, I think the goal is for us to remind you to just stick to your routine, stick to the commandments we always talk about.
All right, we didn't talk about book this time, but yes, one of the commandments is definitely know your basics, know your fallback routine, and then go from there.
Yeah. So with that, let's talk about some products. I think first things we should clear the air is about hyperpigmentation. And just know that there is a difference between that and natural scarring.
Yeah, scarring, as Victoria described earlier, it involves like a topography change. There's some, maybe some dips, some depressions and whatnot. Hyperpigmentation is exactly as it sounds. You will see some like red, purple spots from where the inflammation happened. To tackle either or, the first step is soothing. Soothing, wow, we really talked about soothing a lot. But yes, definitely use soothing products. This is where even cooling mask doesn't help, just keep your skin soothed and happy.
Yeah. How about run through some pigmentation, any pigmentation actives just to tackle that hyperpigmentation?
Right. So we have a whole chapter in the book dedicated to hyperpigmentation, and we definitely have a few blog posts. And wow, did we do a podcast on it yet?
We
Probably
did, right?
Yes. Anyway, yeah, but hyperpigmentation is another problem that takes a whole routine to solve. First and foremost, like anything else, sunscreen. Like, it's already important to wear sunscreen every day, but if you don't and you have hyperpigmentation, just know that any active ingredient you use is working 3 times as hard if you're not actually sunscreening.
Yeah.
Then secondly, some top hyperpigmentation actives include the now quite under the bus hydroquinone is considered the gold standard.
Yeah.
But again, going back to what we're saying, hydroquinone can also be an irritating ingredient, so maybe it's not right for everyone. Other hyperpigmentation actives include molecules like arbutin, kojic acid. On the extract side, you have things like licorice root extract, mulberry extract are all ingredients that have some data around it.
Yeah.
Tranexamic acid is the relative newcomer that's been very popular.
Yeah.
So those are your topicals. And niacinamide is always a good one.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, glycolic acid, chemical exfoliation in general is sometimes a forgotten factor in hyperpigmentation. It's like acne, right? You want to keep those cells moving along, or quoting Clinique, you want to encourage the departures thereof. Just
go
ta-ta now. So that is basically hyperpigmentation routine in a nutshell. It's definitely a multifaceted problem.
Definitely.
Like book chapter.
Yeah, and like hopefully you also heard some overlap in there so that you can like still continue your acne routine, but then you're still keeping the idea, there are ways to tackle hyperpigmentation, because let's be honest, no one's doing just acne and just PIH. So like, you gotta have a little both. So on top of that, I did want to mention there's actually a study done on 0.3% adapalene in combo with 2.5% BPO. They actually did this study for about 6 months.
Well, that's a very long time.
Very long, but it's to look at the reduction of the boxcar scars, so this atrophic scar, and they actually did see a significant reduction, which is really exciting. And also, I think it kind of just drives home the message of like, hey, if you can stick to your acne topical long term and keep up that diligent routine, this should in the end like help with, scar management. But otherwise, I think I also want to share with Gloria, they call when you pick at it, they call it mechanical manipulation. It's a very weird term, but when you do that, they didn't even want to go into it because there's a whole world of just different complex issues, and the skin topography and all of that it just introduced a lot of other wild cards, and they just like didn't touch that, but we're just straight up like, don't pick your scar, like don't pick the lesions, please. So that was one warning. And then the other thing I think is more that like topicals in scar care will only get you so far.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, scarring is like any other more serious visible,
like melasma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get that, topicals will not get you the same results as in-office treatments.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, topical is very helpful to have, and it's actually a very, very, very good. It's a very good idea to have a solid topical routine, like to supplement. Yeah, right? To prevent and supplement your in-office treatment. But if you want to, let's say, go as far as say erase your scars completely, like change your even out your skin tone and treat hyperpigmentation, topicals is just not going to replace in-office treatments.
In fact, Gloria doesn't talk about this, but she used to specialize in very high-strength peels. If you try to look at any of the scar data out there, a lot of them only really focus on really high-strength peels. I'm talking like over 35% TCA peels,
phenol peels,
Gesner peels. These are all super high, and that's really the only way, and you're not going to get those in home. I hope not.
You can, strictly speaking, find them on like Amazon. Please don't do that. That was part of our book where we talked about like which shopping channels are best for what products, and we mentioned Amazon. We're like, oh, good to try Japanese sunscreen. Please don't buy like 75% glycolic acid off of Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the type of topical that we're talking about in order to really target these scars. So instead, we want to point you guys to a different direction, and that's in-office procedure. A lot of times, these are the only ways that you're going to really tackle severe scar scenarios. And there's a lot of work being done to improve all of this technology. Probably one of the main things that are looked at, and you've probably heard about, is fractional CO2 laser therapy. This is the ablative laser therapy that removes
super well.
Yeah, it removes the surface of skin. Usually you need to take a few days off from work. It's pretty invasive, but really great results. And
I've had a friend done this was a while ago, and it's transformative.
Really?
Yeah. Post-care is very, very important, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's no way topicals is gonna do that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one that's probably, it's fairly common, and it's something that you can discuss with your derm. Also, definitely vet out your med spas, your estheticians, and whatnot. Usually, I believe it's only med spas that can perform this, usually with a derm in tow. So that, and then the other thing that I really liked and does give a lot of promise is microneedling.
Yeah, there are some amazing before and after pictures with microneedling. Yeah. Again, not something that you can really achieve at home.
No.
I'll always
won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the needle you get from the at-home treatment is very shallow compared to ones that they use in office and will not get you those results.
Yeah, I always remember one of our visits to our esthetician friend Angela's office. She did a microneedling on one of our friends, and she can tell you when you hit a patch of scar tissue that honestly sometimes you don't even know you have, right? Like obviously she can feel in her hands going through it that, oh, this area deserves more attention to kind of work through that like scarring underneath the surface. And that's exactly why you're paying for professional care. First of all, the needle reaches deeper. And secondly, they have that attention to detail that can really give you a tailored treatment to target those spots.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, just so you guys kind of understand what microneedling does, it uses a needle and it injures the skin to kind of build up and generate that collagen generation. And that's how they found that, it's promising to use this, for just general acne scarring. And what's even more exciting is that they're also looking into this in combo with fractional laser therapy for severe scarring. So I think that's exciting. It's also great because microneedling is a lot cheaper than laser therapy. And so that's another avenue that I personally, if I, really am going to be, I'm all in on taking care of, the acne scarring, like that would be the first road I'd probably go down and wanted you guys to know.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And then, I think the other thing I kind of just want to say is, all of these in-office treatments, probably the first thing that you guys think about is that it's pretty expensive. Just save your money in terms of saving, in terms of like all those scar topicals that you hear about. You're always going to hear that there's like some magic out there, some magical cream that will help with. Just save your money, put it towards the in-office, find a good esthetician, med spa, and I think that you would be a lot happier with those results than just constantly just trying these like $20 creams out there.
Get a basket of Biore Aqua Reach, get your sunscreen on, and then head to the office. It honestly is just... after the office treatments, then is a good time to look at topicals to help those results perform even better. Yeah. But if you want something that like just completely removes your scarring, topicals not the place.
Yeah, agreed. And then the other thing, this is more I wanted to like ask Gloria about. So we kind of briefly mentioned here and there. Clearly, there is a correlation with the microbiome, and this diversity of your flora is really important. All right, we always like harp on how there's no data on, any sort of microbiome skincare. But if I'm going to come to you, Gloria, and I'm like, I want to target my microbiome right now. I don't care. I want to build this routine that's going to make it happy. What would be your advice?
I have a 101 Cider House probiotic hard cider. Dunk your face. That's a great question. Nowadays, I wouldn't even think about Okay, first of all, don't take probiotic claims very seriously topically. You want to think about what nowadays they call pre and postbiotic, which is kind of where the ingredients are. Pre is kind of, from my understanding, it's like bacteria food, you know, things like lactic acid, things that'll keep it happy, the good bacteria food. And then postbiotic is
bacteria waste that keeps your environment happy for more bacteria.
Bacteria poop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, generally speaking, all I go for soothing ingredients. Is that a cop-out answer?
No, it's not. Like, I think that I think it's everything that keeps your skin barrier healthy.
Yes, skin barrier.
Because a healthy I think we referenced to this when we did our collab with Peter Thomas Roth.
Yes.
But it's a cyclical cycle, right? Healthy microbiome is healthy skin barrier. So, like, you know, you just keep this cycle going.
Skin barrier begets happy microbiome, so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think everything that you're probably already doing it, you know, but what we have seen is they're definitely looking at low pH cleansers, not to like just
blow that out of proportion.
Yeah, which it does for us a little bit, but you know, that seems to help. Having all the proper NMFs, all the hydrating factors, anything that promotes healthy skin barriers, the soothing ingredients, everything that makes it a happy ecosystem, that would be, I believe, a happy skin microbiome. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I will say I don't recommend things that claim to customize products based on your microbiome. Yeah, the science is at least like 25 years behind in that department, so whatever that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's it. Honestly, overall, the good news is most of what you're doing in your current acne routine is good enough for scar care, you know, and preventing that. Again, if you're sunscreening, you're keeping your skin soothed, looking into like vitamin C serums to help, you know, minimize that kind of like oxidation and free radicals that are generating. All of this is all, you know, helpful in general, like scar maintenance. So, and then otherwise, look to your in-office. So hopefully that helps you guys like piece all of this together. It's very complicated and there's so many avenues to go down. But yeah, and we'll be here. But otherwise, that ends the meet.
And
we made it, Gloria.
We made it. It's finally time to break it up. Break it up. Break it up. It's animal corner time.
What are we talking about today, Gloria?
Okay, today it's my term, and I decided to talk about pigeons.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Of all things.
Yes.
The rats in the sky.
Yes. Victoria lived in New York City for a brief period, and she's had a few run-ins with her lovely pigeon friends.
I have.
As anyone who's lived in New York City, you're probably not very fond of pigeons, but I decided to talk about pigeons in general because of pigeon racing.
Okay.
As a lot of our old-time followers know, we do our manufacturing out in Taiwan, so we do go out there a lot. And in one of our recent trips, I remember driving down south, and there are these cute little houses, and I mean tiny houses,
little huts
on the roofs. And I walked, and to me, I was like, oh, they're adorable. I had no idea what they were. So and then our friend told us that those are raised pigeon houses. I was like, holy shit, they live better than some people. So anyway, I decided to look into pigeon racing in general.
Exciting.
So first of all, pigeon racing has been around for a long time, centuries. So obviously before the telegraph was invented, pigeon messengers is about the fastest you can deliver letters to people.
Aren't there some like immortalized pigeons in history?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get to that.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, pigeons can fly up to as fast as 60 miles per hour.
Damn! Not the New York ones.
No, not the New York.
Those things been eating too much New York pizza.
Victoria definitely fed a pigeon on her balcony, misguided.
Actually, I have a story for you. I don't think Gloria knows this, but I'll tell it at the end.
Yeah. So anyway, but their top speed can reach up to over like 120 miles per hour. Yeah, that's for short distance. Yes. That's some aggressive pigeons.
Yeah, those are some lean pigeons.
Yes. And since pigeons graduated from being the key messengers, nowadays a lot of like homing pigeons are used for pigeon races. And some of the biggest pigeon races, the prize money is up to $1 million or more.
Wow.
Which means pedigree pigeons can be sold for absurd amount of money. It's becoming very, very popular in places like China. So recently there is a race pigeon called Bolt. Bolt was sold for $399,000.
Damn.
There's another one called Golden Prince who was sold for $379,000. And then my friend Nadine was sold for $469,000.
Wow.
But none of them compares to Armando, who was sold for $1.4 million.
Wait, how? Why?
It's like
why
a bidding
Armando?
war. So Armando is a champion pigeon, and it was so a lot of times when they buy these pigeons, they are usually retired already by that point, but they get them for breeding purposes. But I will say that you see some interviews with like old fanciers. That's the name for like pigeon handlers. Fanciers, pigeon fanciers.
Nice.
The old school crowd is like doesn't believe in the new money approach of like crossbreeding champion pigeons. They're like, sometimes you buy 2 pigeons for $10 each, and then you end up having a champion.
Okay.
Yeah, but what's fascinating is my Google history now looks really bizarre because I have questions like, how does one train a pigeon racer? Apparently, you take the pigeon out every day. Ideally every day, but at least a few times a week.
Okay.
About a mile away from home. And you release it to get it to go back home, and you slowly like kind of increase that distance. And pigeons are big homebodies, and they'll always want to go home. So like the more you train them, they'll know how to go home. And apparently there's like a record where they can travel up to 1,000 miles to go home.
Wow.
And that's how like pigeon races work, is you release them a set amount of miles away from home, and then they all have GPS devices on their feet, and that's how you know, like, how you tell the difference between the flying rats of New York and like someone's pet pigeon.
I was just gonna say, I was like, I'm starting to understand what, like, there's a business opportunity with New York pigeons, I think.
Yes, they'll pick up surprises for you along the way too. So anyway, because
That's
it's
awesome.
becoming so popular in certain parts of the world, pigeon kidnapping is apparently a big issue too.
Not Armando.
You'll see people and that's just like to take down a pigeon.
Wow.
And they'll call the little foot tag, but I have your pigeon.
No, like hold them hostage?
Yes, they hold
For
pigeons
ransom?
for ransom. Yes.
Damn.
Apparently there's a gambling scene with certain pigeon racing too. But anyway, it is fascinating. And as Victoria mentioned, throughout history, there are some very, very famous homing pigeons and messenger pigeons. And one of the best stories is Sheer Amy, I think. This was the U.S.'s homing pigeon, that messenger pigeon used in World War I. It was actually a gift from the British. But the famous story is that there was a nickname U.S. battalion called the Lost Battalion. Everyone thought they got wiped out. Basically, in World War I, they were trapped somewhere in the trenches, surrounded by Germans. They couldn't get out, so they kept sending out like messenger pigeons to try to get help. And obviously, Germans will see the pigeons and shoot them down. But this one, Sheer Amy, actually made it out. And by the time he made it back to home base, he had been shot through the breast, blinded in one eye, and had one leg hanging only by a tendon, but still made it. But because Sheer Amy made it home, she was able to save the 194 survivors from that battalion.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a cute story, but I will tell you, the wiki page has a picture of Sheer Amy stuffed, and it was very terrible. It's a little terrifying looking. But yes,
They stuffed her?
they stuffed her.
God
They
damn.
immortalized her.
Well, not like that.
Memorialized
Like a
Sheer
bronze
Amy.
statue. I mean, about taxidermy. By the way, fun taxidermy or tragic whatever that road is, have a look. Also very entertaining.
Yeah, actually, that taxidermy is one of my fondest memories. So, yeah, it's
The fox is my favorite. Yeah, that's awesome. I always thought horse racing was the thing, but I realized this whole time it's
pigeon racing. Yes.
Huh. I wonder if we can ever go to a race. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So I also want to ask people like fanciers like what their casualty rate is. Like, I'm sure. So okay, in Asia, there are cuisines that involve pigeons.
Yes, yeah.
So once in a while, did someone cook you a champion pigeon? Like that would be just I don't know, because they go super far away from home.
Yeah,
so.
they do. Is there like a stat on like accuracy of them returning home?
Actually, that's a great point. I did not look it up. I will put this down here. I'm sure there is. And I'm sure that goes with breeding and stuff too. And I just wonder, like, yeah, so they're all like GPS tracked and whatnot. And actually, speaking of stats, there was a pocket of time where pigeons are actually function as the original drones. I think this English engineer made a little vest and put a little camera on pigeons, and then that's how they take surveillance images back in the day.
Very cool.
But yes,
awesome. I also we'll have a picture of the pigeons that Gloria is referring to and their ransom money. Well, in the ransom money, because I just want to say those pigeons are super lean compared to the ones you see in New York.
Jacked pigeons. They definitely did not eat pizza for breakfast.
They definitely did it. And I have to tell Gloria, so when I first moved to New York, I wasn't used to like the vermin of New York, and I happened to be like walking, and when you're not used to like the hustle and bustle of the city, you just kind of like everything's like a little oversensitized. And I remember as I was walking, an SUV just like, you just see a pigeon just like run into the SUV and land at my feet, like next to, it was actually in the road, and you can see that it's like injured and it's trying to like flap and like get out of the way, and it's literally going to be roadkill. And so like I remember looking at that and I was like, that's like the worst way to die, because like you literally see like all these cars just like coming towards it, driving over, and you're like, oh my god. So anybody who lives in New York is probably gonna squeal, but I like with my bare hands picked it up, walked it over, and I was like stopping traffic. Just know that I was like brand new to the city, so I don't understand like how dirty these pigeons can be, but just like picked it up, was like, oh my god, 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 and then like dropped it in a bush and then walked away. and I just want you to know how many drivers and taxi drivers cursed at me for stopping traffic, because I was just like, I didn't know.
Freaking pigeon.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. You know, you're like looking at them like, that's literally the worst way to die. And I was like, you have to do something. And then they're like, F you, the thing's effing dead already.
That is the most new to New York story I've ever heard.
You're just not used to it.
I have a fun pigeon story.
Yes.
Maybe not that fun, but in college, we put out, like, one of our microwaves died, so we put it out on balcony, and being shitty college kids, we didn't bother doing anything about the microwave, just sitting there collecting dust. And I went to school somewhere very cold, so after winter, we forgot that it was there. And the next thing, we looked out the window, we realized that this pigeon couple used it as basically a nest. It was like using it as shelter. So build a little nest. And pigeons build like the most trashy nest. So it was like you see like little wires and pieces of like Cheetos bags and whatnot. And made a little nest and laid eggs. And I was like, oh my god, it's so cute, so fascinating. And I remember there was like, I think it was 3 eggs and 2 hatched. And basically there were 2 like baby pigeons, and like the first thing they were born, like none of us disturbed it. We're like, oh my god, miracle of life, so cute. We'll look outside the window, we're like, oh my god, so cute. Dude, as they grow bigger, they are so ugly. But anyway, the problem is, because it was a pigeon nest, our balcony was just covered in pigeon shit. And then one day I came back and I was going to like go out to the balcony to check on the baby pigeons just to see like where it is. And my roommate at the time was like, don't go out there. I was like, what happened? And it's just see from the corner of my eye, I just see a big crow with a pigeon head sticking out of its beak. I was like, oh, that was my lesson about nature from college.
Planet Earth University style. There you go.
I was very sad for about like a week, and then after the other pigeons survived the crow attack and then grew up to be adult and left the nest, and we're like, oh, that was so cute. And then now he scrub all the pigeon poo off the balcony.
Actually, bird poo is super potent.
Toxic stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our animal fun fact corner. Pigeons.
Woo! Awesome. All right, last section.
Yes.
And we're ready to end the week.
Woo, it is Q&A time.
All right, let's do it. This is from Lisa.
Yes, I actually really love this question. Lisa asked about podcast. She says, on your podcast, you mentioned studies that discounted some of these antioxidants. They were done by the developer of SkinCeuticals, CE Ferulic. Shouldn't those be considered highly biased and therefore questionable? Also, can you speak about astaxanthin, the ingestible, its effects on skin?
Is that the HelioCare?
I don't remember actually, but it's the shrimp shell antioxidant. Yeah. So, does it offer any protection against sun damage? All right. Great question.
Yeah.
So you highlighted a few really good problems with researching skincare in general. It is very rare, if ever, you'll find a completely non-biased source.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and we do have to just look at each paper by its merits.
Yes.
The two of us try to look at it from certain angles, like, oh, does it have a placebo? What's the sample size, and kind of go from there, because the reality is a lot of the studies are funded by various biased parties, and
it's
that's
the only way
industry.
you're going to get the research to move forward.
Right, exactly. And I agree with you that, yes, coming from SkinCeuticals, that the founder definitely want to find a certain type of result, but at the same time, to be fair, they put their own formula through the same test. So to us, that's fair enough.
I also think that you have to give them credit for acknowledging some of these competitors too. Very rarely will you find studies that are willing to do head-to-heads, and that's why it's so difficult to really discern, and why we don't like to answer like, is this ingredient better? Yeah. So I think that is totally fair. You will be surprised a lot. I want to say probably like, for me, I would estimate 80% of the studies out there are funded in some form or manner, not by big companies, but with the intention of some sort of business. You know? So it's just the nature of, I don't know, a capitalistic society. I don't know. But you know that study, I think the one that I think is like the guardian angel study is the one that we recently found on the SPF oils.
Oh, yes.
Because that is definitely, they do not gain anything except to prove a point that oils are not sunscreen. Our oils are not supposed to be sunscreen filters. And that is just doing everyone a favor. So yeah, I would say, anything in terms of efficacy.
Yeah, I just love that you asked about this question, because it's a very valid point, and it's just the nature of this industry. And thank you for bringing it up.
I think, sorry, I want to add one more thing. We really try to like read through all the like papers in detail. A lot of times you there's a paywall and you can only process the abstract. And I guarantee you, I don't know how many times this is true, where the abstract, you read past that, you want to look at the protocol, the method, how many the subjects they're recruiting, the types of studies they're doing. All of that plays a factor into the actual value of the paper. And so that's what we try to do for you guys. So,
and honestly, if you guys were only two people, if you guys see any studies you think we missed, definitely send our way. Just like the previous episode, sometimes we go over paywall, like Victoria mentioned. You'll see certain things, like we sometimes get messages like, oh, you talk shit about this ingredient, but I heard it's this paper, the study that showed that's a miracle for whatever condition. And then we read the full paper and realize, oh, it's N=3 and like there's no placebo. So so anyway, that is the complexity of researching for skincare.
Okay, awesome, great question. I don't know anything about astaxanthin, so I apologize. I don't know much about this. Is all Gloria.
So yes, it has been a pretty popular ingredient as of late, especially in the ingestible world. Does it help with, I'm going to answer this more generally. Does it protect against sun damage? So oral sun damage care or sun damage prevention care has a surprising amount of data to show that it helps. Almost like the topical CE Ferulic study that you just referenced, that, like by applying this or by eating this, skin's like that amount of sunlight that causes damage seems to go up. So yes, there's some basis for that, but no, it will never replace sunscreen. So like Victoria mentioned, the HelioCare is a ingestible that's done a lot of studies about how their ingestible can help prevent sun damage. This is great for those of you who is hypersensitive to the sun. It's just another layer of protection. But does it replace any of the topicals? No, it doesn't. About astaxanthin specifically, there are some very interesting data. I will say, I think I saw a lot of good papers coming out of Japan. The problem with that is sometimes the abstracts are in English, but the actual paper is in Japanese, and I'm out of luck there. So, yes.
Yeah. So, again, a supplement, secondary, not a replacement.
Right.
Yeah. All right. And our last question is from Cloudy Day Girl. She asks a very simple question. Do sunscreen mists work? And how much do I spray? Yeah. Great question. Sunscreen mists, the way they're tested is actually by spraying on the hand, the proper amount, and then applying on whatever surface. So
if you go back to our sunscreen controversy podcast, I think it's 3 episodes ago at this point, we talked about how sunscreen's tested, and there's that 2 milligrams per millimeter square. Wow, I got my units all wrong, but it's a measure amount by weight per surface area measurement, and that goes for all formats.
Yeah, 2 milligrams per centimeter squared is the metric.
I was like, whoa, that's tiny. That is not right.
I was like,
well, yes, I'm sorry. It's a late day, and I finished this.
Anyways, so that would be the best way to apply it and ensure you're getting proper protection. It does work. It's actually a very convenient way to reapply because the formula is a lot lighter, more fluid. You just want to make sure that the film is nicely set up, and that's it. So
yeah. So when people ask us questions like how much, we always say more is more when it comes to sunscreen.
Yeah. For sure. Awesome. All right. I think we have reached the end.
This is a really long episode. It might be cut up into 2.
Yeah.
I don't know,
we are hitting like close to the 2-hour mark, which is new for us. I really thought the sunscreen controversy one would be longer.
I think maybe deep down inside we really want to end that conversation.
She's not wrong, guys. All right. What's next, Gloria?
Dry skin?
Are we hitting dry skin weather yet?
No. I don't know, guys.
Pigmentation. If we haven't done it, it's probably time because, we're starting to get into the later parts of summer. We want to talk about that buildup of pigmentation you might have gotten through summer. So, and kind of changing up, getting your routine ready for fall and winter. So,
yes.
Sound good?
Stay tuned to see if we lied about the next episode's topic.
All right. Where can they find us, Gloria?
Oh, right. So thank you guys for listening. You can find us on our website at chemistconfessions.com, on Instagram at chemist.confessions. DM us there. Send us an email at info@chemistconfessions.com. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see ya. Thanks, guys. Bye.